Hey guys, and welcome back to my channel. So today is Monday evening and I'm going to do a bit of a different video with you this week. I wanted to film me making my teas every night because it's one of those things, it can be so hard to get enough variety in your weekly meals and to make sure they're balanced and healthy and don't cost too much. So I thought it'd be really nice to share with you what we're eating for the week. Cooking on an evening is something we absolutely love to do. It's the way I sort of unwind after work, and then when Chris gets back he'll come and help, and we've always loved cooking together as a couple. So tonight we are going to be making a herby meatballs, and we're doing it with spaghetti. So it's a HelloFresh recipe. We're not currently using HelloFresh, but we have done in the past. At the moment it's just a little bit too expensive, and the amount of packaging I wasn't 100% on board with. But we're still using loads of their recipes. We really enjoyed the meals and the food that we had. So for that we've got mince, which I always buy the bags of frozen mince just because it comes in cheaper. So the mince is going in the meatballs, and we've got panko breadcrumbs there as well. And then with water, sort of combine the meatballs together. We've got some parmesan. You don't have to use parmesan. Quite often if I'm trying to cut the cost down, I'd leave that out and just use some cheddar cheese instead. We've got garlic, we've got chilli, we've got mixed herbs, beef stock, tin of tomatoes and some spaghetti. So I'm going to start on cooking that. First thing, the kettle is put on ready for the stock and the spaghetti. Then 10 grams of panko breadcrumbs and 2 tablespoons of water are mixed together, and 240 grams of mince. Then you season this with some herbs and mix this together by hand. This then gets rolled into a number of balls. You can kind of decide what size, and popped in the oven for 12 to 15 minutes at about 200 degrees C. Next, I diced up some onion and some garlic ready for the sauce. This got oil heated in a pan. The onion and garlic got chucked in and browned. When the kettle boiled, the stock was made, and tin of tomatoes and the stock was then added to the sauce. The spaghetti was put on with the boiling water, and I diced up a chilli to sprinkle on top at the end. This gives a little bit more of a kick to the sauce. You probably don't need this if you're not a fan of spice. The sauce bubbled away, and then we added the meatballs once they had cooked, and some parmesan cheese. Spaghetti is served up. This was enough for 2 people, 2 full portions. Once spaghetti is served, the sauce and the meatballs is added. I think there was roughly about 6 meatballs each, 5 or 6 each. The chilli is sprinkled over the top. Hey guys, it's Tuesday evening now, and I've come to cooking some tea. So we were going to have burritos tonight, but I think they're going to be tomorrow night because the avocados aren't yet ripe. So I'm going to do some shepherd's pie instead. I've not got a recipe that I follow for this one, but I'll talk you through it as I do it, and I'll just show you what I'm going to be using. So the shepherd's pie, we're going to put carrots, onion, peas, mince, mushrooms. We use beef stock and gravy for the sauce. I'm going to do a broccoli on the side, and we're going to do some mashed potato on the topping. So first we peeled and chopped the potatoes ready for the mash on top of the shepherd's pie. This recipe is very much done by eye. You'll see at the end I made far too much for the 2 portions that I was aiming for. But I always know that if I make too much it still gets used. So this was put on and left to boil until it was soft. A lot softer than you'd boil a potato if you were going to do new potatoes. Then I diced up some onion and some carrot. I chopped up some mushrooms, and I think I add some peas as well into this recipe. I like to make sure that the filling's got lots of veg as well as the meat. We were serving it with broccoli, but for more veg the better. So the carrot and the onion gets fried up and browned off first because these take the longest to cook. Once these are browned, I added the mince. We use frozen mince. If you weren't using frozen mince, you just add the defrosted or the fresh stuff. And then once the mince was browned, the mushrooms and the peas got added and some seasoning got put in. So then the kettle boiled, so the sauce was made up of a stock cube and some gravy, and then this gets added to the mince mix and left to simmer for a bit. The potatoes were mashed up with a load of milk. Could have also done with some butter if I'm honest. The potatoes were a little bit stiff and I did make a mess putting them on top, as you'll see in a minute. I spooned the potato on top. My dishes were a little bit full, so it kind of went a bit explosive and I made a bit of a mess, but they still tasted good. These then went in the oven at 200 degrees for about half an hour until slightly browned on top. Hello guys, so happy hump day. We've made it to Wednesday, and I think I mentioned briefly yesterday, we are having burritos for tonight's tea. So it's one of our absolute favourite vegetarian meals to do, so I'll show you what's going in it. So for the main burrito, we've got a black bean sauce going in. So for that, I've got 2 tins of chopped tomatoes and 2 tins of black beans. We've got garlic, chipotle paste and coriander. It should be fresh coriander, but I don't have any of that in, so I'll use some dried stuff in there. For in the burritos, I'm just going to cook up a little bit of rice, and we've got some wraps. Then I'm also going to make a guacamole, or guacamole, as Chris tells me it is every time. I wouldn't normally make a guacamole if I was trying to be more cost efficient, but we're having it as a treat. So I've got avocados, Tabasco, cayenne pepper, an onion, lemon juice and a tomato that goes in that. And that all gets blitzed up together. And I'll also be doing a salad to go in the burritos as well. So lovely treat tea, lots of food. Let's start cooking. Kettle was put on to start with, ready for the rice. Then a garlic was diced up. I don't have a garlic crusher, so I dice it. And this was for the black bean sauce. Oil was added to the pan and the garlic added to fry off for a little bit. 2 heaped teaspoons of chipotle paste were added to that for flavour. And then 2 tins of black beans were added. This got stirred up to combine, and then 2 tins of chopped tomatoes go in there, and the whole lot is left to simmer. The boiling water was added to the rice, and then for the guacamole it was 2 avocados, 2 garlic cloves, half an onion, 1 tomato, juice of lemon, half a teaspoon of cayenne pepper, pinch of pepper and 1 teaspoon of Tabasco. This is all chucked into the same blitzer and blitzed up basically. Really, really simple to do. We've tried a lot of guacamole recipes and that one's by far our favourite. Salad was made for the side and then the wraps as well. And that was our tea. There was loads of food there, so leftovers were eaten for lunch. Hey guys, it's still Wednesday. But I'm back because I need to do some prepping for tomorrow night's tea. So tomorrow night we are going to have some tandoori chicken and I'm going to put it in a marinade tonight and pop it in the fridge. So I'll turn you around and show you the ingredients. So I've got a chicken breast for each of us. We've got yogurt and oil, onion, garlic and then ginger, turmeric and curry powder. And all of that gets shoved in a bowl together, stirred up and popped in the fridge overnight. I placed 2 chicken breasts in a bowl and added roughly 100 ml of full fat yogurt. An onion got diced up and chucked in, and so did a garlic. Again, I don't have a crusher, so I haven't crushed it. And then spices wise, we put in 2 teaspoons of ground ginger, 1 teaspoon of ground turmeric, and 1 teaspoon of curry powder. Finally, we add 3 tablespoons of sunflower oil. Hey guys, it's Thursday now. I'm not gonna lie, I'm completely shattered this evening. So I'm really grateful for an easy tea. We are doing tandoori chicken tonight, which I marinated last night, as you'll have seen. And we're gonna do that with potato wedges and a nice big salad. So nice and easy. I've got the potatoes out and chicken out there, and I'm going to start cooking those. The oven's on ready for potatoes, and then the chicken should get grilled. Tandoori chicken is already prepped and has been in the fridge overnight marinating. So for on the night, we need to wedge up potatoes, pop them on a baking tray, all spread out, and season with salt and pepper, drizzle with oil, and toss to coat. Those then go in the oven for about 40-45 minutes. And whilst they're cooking, I made a salad, so I just chopped up some lettuce. I had celery in, so I diced some of this up and sprinkled it over the top. I think I also had some tomatoes, some cucumber, basically just whatever I had in the fridge got chopped up and popped in a side salad. This was one of those teas where it was really simple, not much prep needed doing, and not much needed doing on the night. So great for one of those nights where you're just a bit busy to work out what to cook. So for the chicken, it got grilled on a high grill temperature for about 5 minutes on each side. Checked it in the middle by cutting it open to check that it was cooked before serving. Then the wedges got plated up with the chicken, and I'd popped the salad on the table for us to help ourselves. Hey guys, it's Friday now. Please excuse how I look. I've just woken up from an afternoon sleep and I'm feeling a little bit on the grotty side, so I'm sorry for that. But it's Friday and I'm about to cook some tea. So today we're doing an adaptation on one of the HelloFresh meals that we got a wee while back. This was for a prawn chickpea bulgur salad, and we've made a few changes to make it a little bit more affordable. So instead of prawns, we're going to be using fish fillets, which we get frozen ones from Morrison's, and there was like 5 for £1 something. So a really cheap alternative. Probably not quite as tasty, but still really good. So then we've got bulgur wheat, we've got some, what's this, jus paste, which is really strong flavouring but really nice. A little goes a long way. We've got chickpeas, onion, garlic, mange tout, and vegetable stock cubes. First thing I did was dice up an onion ready to get fried off in a pan. The recipe asked for a red onion, but I used just the white one because that's what I had in. So I heated some oil up in the pan and added the onion to brown this off. Then I measured out the bulgur wheat, which was 120 grams. Once the onion had fried up, I added 240 ml of water to that. Once this came to the boil, then the bulgur wheat was added. This went back on the heat for a minute and then got left with a lid on for about 15 minutes till it was cooked. Monge 2 got halved and then fried up in a pan, and then I added the fish to the same pan because why not, save washing up. The bulgur wheat was cooked, so it got fluffed up with a spoon, and it got a big teaspoon of jus paste added. We also added a tin of chickpeas. That made the base of the tea, so that got dished up into the bowls. I then added the monge 2 and the fish on top. As I say, this recipe was originally to be done with prawns. So you could easily do this with prawns, you could do this with other fish. It doesn't look the prettiest on my presentation, but it tasted good. Hey guys, it's now Saturday. It's about 4:15, just checking the clock there. And I'm about to start on some tea because we're going to do a roast today. Generally on like the weekend, Saturday, Sunday, I like to do something that's a little bit more time consuming, a little bit more effort gone into it. Firstly, it's like a bit of a treat, but also because we've got the time to do it, and it means that we get more variety within the week. So we're going to do a roast today, and then the leftover food from a roast will get used into next week's meals. So I'll show you what we've got. So we're going to do a roast chicken, and for that I roughly go off a Hairy Biker's recipe for that one. I kind of get the timings off that. I'm gutted that I've not got any sage and onion stuffing in, as usually I'd stuff it with that. But we normally go off a Hairy Biker's recipe. Then we're going to do some roast potatoes, roast butternut squash, carrots and garlic. Got some goose fat there to do all the roasting in. We're going to do some Yorkshires, which I use Mary Berry's recipe for, and it's an absolute fail-safe. So yeah, I don't think I'm forgetting anything. Oh, and then we'll make gravy at the end, which I'll use some stock cubes for, and then I'll make stock out of the chicken tomorrow probably when I'm prepping for next week's meals. First thing with a roast, the potatoes get cooked, so these get peeled and chopped ready for boiling. You want to boil them to the point that when you stick a knife in, the potato drops off, but they don't want to be overcooked as they then get shoved in the oven. So these got filled with water and then popped on the stove. Whilst these were cooking, I prepped the chicken. So I chucked a load of carrot in the bottom and an onion in the bottom of the tin, just for added flavour of any juices ready to make the gravy. Then an onion got shoved up the chicken for moisture. This went in at 220 for 15 minutes, and then depending on the weight of the chicken, for every 500 grams it gets an extra 20 minutes at 180 degrees. I also covered the chicken with butter, which I just missed. The potatoes went in hot fat, and the roast veg went in at the same time. Then for the Yorkshires, it's 125 grams of plain flour, 2 eggs, 1 egg yolk and 250 ml of milk. This will make 12 Yorkshires. The whole lot gets shoved together and whisked up. And then this sits for a little bit so the flour can soak up some of the milk. After the chicken had been in long enough, I checked that it was cooked by shoving a skewer in and checking whether the juices came out clear. The Yorkshire pudding tin had been in the oven to heat up the oil for a little bit first, and then the mix was added and this gets put back in the oven. You don't want to be opening your oven door once these are in, otherwise your Yorkshires will sink. For the gravy, I then added a load of flour to the roasting tin and heated this up. This makes a sort of roux which will be the base to the gravy, and then stock is added to that at that point. It also allows you to get up all the flavours that are burnt onto the tin that you might otherwise miss. Then stock is added really slowly and mixed in. If you add it all at once you might get lumpy gravy, so it's better with 2 people if you've got somebody to pour it in and somebody to mix. And then that is our roast dinner. Hello again guys, so it's Sunday, it's my last day of cooking with you. It's currently nowhere near tea time, but I'm going to do some prep beforehand. Tonight we're going to be doing a chicken pie, and it's sort of a short crust pastry all the way around, and then a chicken and veggie filling in some gravy. But to do that, I'm first of all going to strip the chicken now and then put the bones on to make some stock, because that'll take about 2 hours to make the stock, and it just means that I can use that in the gravy then, and it will taste a lot nicer. You don't need to make stock out of the chicken, you can just use the stock cubes and make those up. I do a bit of both, it depends what time I've got. Quite often I'll make the pie and then make the stock afterwards and just freeze it, because you can also freeze some stock. But I'm going to make it fresh today since I've got time to do so. So I'm going to get on with doing that. There's 2 ways you can strip a chicken. So the more glamorous way, I suppose, is to use a fork to sort of tear the meat away. But I have to say I find that really difficult because it's hard to know what's your nice meat and what's like hard gristly bits, and also it's hard to get as much stripped off. So I tend to just use my hands and pick it off, which sounds a bit disgusting, but I'll really thoroughly wash my hands beforehand and then strip it with my hands, get all the meat off, and then chuck the bones in some water for some stock. So I'm going to get on with doing that. The chicken was stripped with my hands. Make sure you turn it all the way over so you're getting all the meat off the bottom as well as off the top. Hey guys, so it's a bit later now. The stock has been on and is done, and I'm going to start making the pie filling and the pastry. It's still quite early, it's only like, 10 to 3, but with the pie it's better if you let the filling cool before you start putting it all together. Otherwise the pastry can start melting before it goes in the oven. So I thought I'd show you what we've got. So pie filling wise, it's going to be a gravy based pie. We've got the chicken that I stripped earlier, lots of mushrooms, love mushrooms and peas in a chicken pie. We've got onions and carrots, some butternut squash will get diced up in a similar way to the carrots. And then we've got the leftover gravy from yesterday and lots of stock. This is how much stock the chicken made. I'll use some of this, but probably whatever's left will go in the freezer. And then as far as the pastry, it's just butter, flour and water. Onion, carrot, butternut squash and mushrooms were diced up for the middle of the pie. Oil was put in a pan and these were fried off till brown. Then I added the peas and the mushrooms after the rest of the veg had cooked a little bit first. After this, the chicken was added. This wasn't cut down anymore, it was just whatever it had come off the chicken as. Flour was added in at this point. I think I added about 3 tablespoons of it and mixed this in with the veg and the chicken. From here, the stock is added. The flour will thicken this into a gravy. Also, the leftover gravy from last night's tea was added at this point too. This is then left to simmer and thicken into a nice gravy. At this point I made the pastry, so that is 12 ounces of plain flour, 6 ounces of butter. You rub these in with your fingers, which takes an age. Also I cut it through with a knife first to make that job a bit easier. You can use a blender to make pastry, it's just not something I'm used to doing, so I always rub it in with my fingers. Once this is looking like breadcrumbs, I then added 5 tablespoons of water, and then I added a 6th once I knew what the pastry was looking like, as you don't want to add it all at once because it might get too wet and sticky. Once it starts coming together, bring in your hands and make it into a dough. This then goes into the fridge to chill for at least half an hour. Once out of the fridge, the pastry was brought out, cut into 2 chunks so that you had some left for the pastry top and some for the sides and the bottom, and rolled out into a nice big rectangle ready for the pie dish. This then got lifted over the pie dish and squidged into place, making sure that you're not making any holes as you're doing this, and that you've got enough excess that you can stick the top on. when you get to that point. The pie filling had been left to cool down, and then this got added to the pastry. I had a little duck to put in the middle. If you don't, that's fine, just cut a hole in the top when you're putting the top of the pie on. Then the sides were brushed with eggs that were beaten up, and the top was placed on and squidged into the sides of the pie. I tend to squidge it with a thumb and a finger, go around once, trim the excess, and then fold it in again. That's just how I like to do it. There are fancy ways of crimping a pie, but I find that's the easiest and it doesn't leak. I also found that I had a little hole, so I put a little bit of more egg on and added a bit of pastry just so it wasn't going to leak out the top. As I say, I folded it around again, make sure there wasn't any leaks, and then covered the entire top of the pie with some more egg. This will give it a lovely golden crisp colour on top. This pie went in the oven for about 40-45 minutes at 200 degrees, and we cooked some broccoli up whilst that was in. Broccoli got served, the pie came out. This pie would serve us about 4 meals without, say, a potato side with it. But if you were having, say, wedgies or chips with it, or mash, you'd probably get about 6 portions out of this pie. Thank you ever so much for watching. I hope this has given you some inspiration, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!